So,
Okay.
so apart from
So,
looking at Class Dojo and Classcraft, we also looked at some other tools that might help us managing our classrooms. Do you want to go first with one of yours?
sure. I looked at Too Noisy, which is a volume. I don't even know exactly how to explain it, but it takes the noise level in your classroom and it translates that into stars. And so you can set how loud you want your classroom to be on the decibel scale. And then when they're meeting that, they get stars. And when they're too noisy, it gives you a ding to let you know, and the class know that they've gone above the recommended level, which I think is really awesome. Visual thinking. Aside from that, I've looked at a couple of the other voice volume apps, I guess is what we call them. And I like Too Noisy over the other ones. A couple of the other ones take the volume level and they make it into bars so you can see how high or how low it is, or fireworks. When it's too loud, you see fireworks on the screen. And one, that requires this thing being on the screen, which I guess is a problem with Too Noisy as well. But two, I don't want them to see how loud they are. I want them to be positively rewarded for quiet behavior because I feel like it becomes a competition. Can we make the bar really spike?
Well, this was what I was going to say. As soon as you described how it worked, my immediate thought was this one grade 7 class I know, and I know that for as soon as you put that up on the screen, they'll be competing to see who can make the loudest noise.
Exactly.
I wonder if after that initial playing around with it, then you could use it as a tool, or if it would be more of a distraction when it was on the screen.
You use it. I mean, if you used it every single day and it became part of routine, I think it would work. But if you're using it like we're using it, once every week or, during a particular activity, every time it comes on, it becomes this novel concept all over again. And particularly, I think in my case, where I'd be using it more as a novel concept, I'd rather reward them for being quiet with nothing besides the ding for being loud, then I want them to, feel like they're getting a reward for making the bar go up.
Sure.
Would you use something like this in your classroom?
I would consider doing it in cases, for example, I want to teach science, and when we're doing labs, a certain amount of noise is necessary. You need to talk in your group and communicate what you're doing and what's going on. But there's a limit, and above that, then it's too noisy and no one can hear anything. So for longer group activities like that, I could see it being quite useful.
Right. But I think Sadie and I, when we did a project a couple of weeks ago on classroom management styles, he did this thing on champs. And one of the acronyms is, I don't even remember how it gets into, I think it was C, but I can't remember how C translates into volume. One of his things there was, that volume could be a 0 or it could be a 1 or a 2 or a 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever it was. And I feel like kids probably don't always know what that's supposed to sound like. And so if you had a different sound setting for each one, I think that would help them in the first week or two of school get the idea of what's a 3 and what's a 2 and what's the difference, because even we as teachers know what the difference is sometimes.
Okay, so to sum up this app, would you use it in your class, and what context?
I think I would, to an extent. Like you, I'm going to be teaching, older students. I will be teaching history. So, for group projects, which I see myself doing a lot more of now that we're headed towards student-centered, having it on so that, when they get above a certain noise level that isn't productive, we can, remember to come back down. I see it more of a reminder than a instruction management tool, but I can see myself using it in certain contexts too loud. Now, I think you were looking at a couple of things. You were also looking at an app for a phone. I think in your place it was a timer.
That's right, Best Sand Timer it's called, and it's a very modern-looking, sleek-looking app that is essentially an egg timer or a sand timer on your phone or on an iPad. It visually shows the sand pouring through the hourglass, which is supposed to give students a better idea of the passage of time than even just a clock display.
Okay.
And I can see how it would be useful for sort of short timed activities. You can display the timer on your iPad. You couldn't display it on your phone to the whole class because they wouldn't really be able to see, but if you had an iPad, you can keep other information on the board and display the timer. I was a bit... I don't think I would use it, mostly because I like to have things on the board, nice and big for everyone to see, and also I don't have an iPad, so it really limits, how you can use it. I had a look around for some more computer-based apps, that you can just open on a website, and I found this great one called it's called Online Stopwatch, and on onlinestopwatch.com there is a whole heap of different timers that you can use.
Very interesting. I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah, so there is a sand timer working in a similar way. It doesn't look quite as fancy. The graphics are a little bit more simple, but I also like it because there's a rocket timer, and basically it's like a firework with a really long fuse, and you see the fuse moving down as the time is running out until the time runs out. It gets to the rocket, and then the rocket explodes, and there's fireworks. And I really like that. Like, if you're using it with younger kids, and it's a celebration that you finished your activity on time. So I would definitely use a sort of a web-based timer over something like Best Sand Timer, because for the function it has, there are much more fun and useful timers available online.
Okay, very, very cool. I like that. And I agree that having a visual of some sort, any kind of a visual, even if it is the countdown, really helps kids grasp the concept of time. I did 15-minute intervals for spelling, handwriting, and phonics every day. And, I set the timer on my phone just like I'm doing now for us. But that didn't help the kids because, I would say, okay, we're going to have 15 minutes. And yes, they can look at the clock behind me, but that doesn't give them, when did we start? How much longer do I have to do this? And if it's handwriting, why isn't the clock going faster? In that case, they're counting down the time instead of working, and doing the calculations. And so I like the idea, and onlinestopwatch.com sounds really awesome.
You bring up a good point, though, that kids can get distracted by looking at the time, and I feel like that's one of the benefits of this Best Sand Timer, is it is kind of boring to look at. It's not something, if you're looking at the fuse on a rocket, you're going to want to watch that thing go all the way down. If you're just looking at sand coming through the hourglass, it's not quite so visually engaging.
That is true.
I'm not entirely sure about the use of timers in the classroom altogether. I feel like if you want to use them, for example, to improve transition times, I'm pretty sure all that would result is students would be on time, but they wouldn't be prepared. I feel like timed activities, though, it's sometimes nice, especially if the kid's not enjoying the activity, to be able to look and say, okay, there's only 3 minutes left, I'll just do a little bit more work, and that kind of motivation can make it really useful.
We need to move on to our next thing, which I guess is my turn since you just went, which is TeacherKit. Apparently can be used on a variety of different platforms. I don't know anyone that uses it, but I have spent quite a long time looking at the features and testimonials, and it looks really cool. In that, I think it could replace my grading system. It does a lot of the recording things, so attendance, gradebook, notes to parents, because it's all in one spot. So I'm not using 6 different things to contact, I'm not using my email program to contact the parents, and I'm not using Excel to find my gradebook, and I'm not checking it off on a piece of paper. Well, at my last school, we had to still do that in the morning, to turn in for attendance. And, at the end of the day, for me, that felt scattered. Like I was all over the place because I had 10 different things to do, 10 different things. And so I like that everything is consolidated into one place. And not only that, that from that one spot you can do everything. If you remember as you're making a behavioral note, which you can do on this thing, that maybe you really should talk to little Johnny's parents. You can immediately from that screen go over and write up a note to the parents and send it in the classroom. I mean, it makes reports. You can share the reports via email. You can make seating charts. You can make a class summary. You can have as many classes as you want. I mean, to me, I think that the disadvantage would just be that it isn't, something I physically have in my hand. On the other hand, it can be on my phone, it can be on my iPad, it can be on my school laptop, it can be on my home laptop, my thing. I know that you worked a little bit on something very untechnologically similar.
That's right. It's another tool for the teacher. So the students don't really see this. Actually, no, there's a part of it they can see, but it's mostly for the teacher. Instant Classroom. It's you can tell it's been made by a teacher who's busy, who knows exactly what they need, and hasn't put any extra bells and whistles in. And I actually really appreciate that. It's completely free. It's very easy to start up. You just upload your class name, and you can have as many classes as you want. Within those classes, you can make seating charts by just assigning students to a table. You can move the configuration of the tables around and then press random, and it will randomize them. So you can essentially come in with a different seating chart every day using the layout of your classroom, which is really nice. There's a group maker, which randomly assigns the students in your class to a group, which is quite nice if there are students who always work together and you want them to branch out. My favourite thing, though, is the random name generator. So I can see this working really well for things like little in-class quizzes, or just making sure that you're not calling on the same students every time. So saying, okay, I'm going to ask this question of, and then everyone's paying attention because it could be them, and it helps them stay engaged because they never know when you're going to ask them a question based on this random name generator. The only disadvantages I can see is it does look a little bit cheap, and there are ads on the page which you have to kind of scroll to get it outside the to get the ads outside the screen that the students can see. But apart from that, it's a really wonderful, simple tool for making seating plans, for assigning students to groups, and for randomly generating student names to call on them.
Yes, I like the random student generator name list thing too. Easy way. And I think the students see that as fair.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not you picking on them, it's the mysteries of the universe randomly selecting their name.
Right.
There are some other ones that like SmartSeat is another app that you can use for seating plans. But to be honest, I found it all a bit complicated. It's got loads of other things, like you can put a photo with the student, you can do all sorts of things with it, but most of the things that you can do with that app, due to the data protection laws in my school and in Germany, you wouldn't be able to do anyway. You couldn't upload the students' photos to an external app. And the other thing is, even though it's very pretty and very nice, it's SmartSeat is only on iPad and iPhone, and that's just not convenient. So I'd much rather Instant Classroom is a web-based tool, super simple, and yeah, it does everything you need.
Awesome. So I think we are both saying that we would say yes to TeacherKit and yes to Instant Classroom.
Yes, that is what we're saying.